Kia ora, Lara here, and I am sharing with you my layout created for Scraptember Day 8, and the focus today is multi-photos. So I'm actually going to use 6 photos that I have printed. So I printed 4 to a 6x4 photo, so you can do the maths. I really can't think it straight right now. I'm cutting some of the paper here, so it was a wood grain paper that I found. I think it was an older paper that came in, I think it came in sort of the mix-in packs 1 month, and I'm using this sort of these gorgeous leaves here, and I'm going to create a little bit of a border at the top and the bottom. So I had to cut the centerpiece there to 6 inches by 8.5, so 8.5 wide, and it was just 6 down the page there, and the same with the borders, so they're 3/4 of an inch and 8.5 inches wide. So that's sort of, I guess, when I was putting this together, it's like, oh, it's really boring. But I actually kind of like how it came together, just the bridges that I'm sort of scrapbooking, all the swing bridges, or some of the swing bridges that were on the Copeland track when we tramped it. So when I was thinking through what to do for multi-photos, it was sort of like, what have I got lots of that I can sort of document here? And I thought, well, hey, the swing bridges fit beautifully. So the letters that I'm using here are part of a sort of a wood grain alpha. They're quite a nice, easy size. They don't stick out too much. They're nice and light. So they're a really cool alpha to play around with. They can come in black. You can also get them in white acrylic and also rainbow colours, I think, as well. So a few options there, but I quite like the black and this wood grain just because they're a bit cheaper and they seem to fit nicely and can be used for lots of things, especially when you saw me there pulling out an extra S from a new sheet. Some letters seem to go a whole lot quicker than others. I remember years ago there was some kind of title making thing that you could do, and you could add in the letters that you had left on sticker sheets and stuff and create titles from those. So I'm thinking maybe I'm going to have to start doing that again sometime. So each of these photos here, I'm just backing on this piece of this greeny coloured paper. I just really liked how it brought out the colours of the trees all around the spring bridges. And it tied nicely with the colours at the top of that sort of leafy border that I've picked to go on either side of the wood grain central piece here that I've got. So just tucking them on there. And I'm going to stick down the leafy parts first. I'm going to stick down the top one and then the bottom one before I'll go back and stick in the wood grain. So getting all of that attached. Now, it doesn't really matter what order the photos go on, but you'll see me soon going through them and sort of rearranging them so that you're walking into the middle of the page rather than out of it, if that makes any sense. So you'll see me sort of shuffle a few things around when I realise that actually I want to make sure that people are walking into the page rather than out of it. So it's kind of got that when you're talking about portraits and stuff, it's good to have a little bit of walking room or room to move into the picture. So it's just thinking about that composition is the way I sort of shuffled those photos around. So started using that tape runner again, which is great until it runs out. And then so just for the sake of time, I grabbed just some double-sided tape that I'm sticking on here. Mental note to go and top up the ATG tape there before I go to do some more pages next time. So I'm just sticking all of these down, quite a simple layout, but I actually really like the simplicity and how it came out at the end. Roughing up the edges here just seemed to add that dimension that it really needed, so it wasn't completely sort of 2 lines of 3 photographs sitting there in this wood grain, just to add a little bit more interest point, a little bit more depth and dimension. So you'll see that I moved the layout kind of up because after putting the swing bridge title at the top, I felt that I needed to put that down the bottom. So that was why I moved that out of the way. So I've decided to do some stitching along these borders, these leaf borders. So I played around with a few different color options, but I decided I wanted something that tied in together, or tied in with the colors and things, rather than stood out too much, but that would just add a little bit more of an effect in there. So I end up going for this green, a green color that just sort of matches one of the tones of the leaves that are in there as well. So it's quite handy having all the different colour swatch options here to really get them the colour the way you want it. So just using my piercing tool here and a piercing mat, and just zooming along and making sure that I'm doing it in groups of 2, so that I'm not going to back stitch. It's just going to be single stitch with a gap between. And I won't do all the stitching on camera. I will do some of that off camera and then come back. But I'm just going to get this started. Now that I've got those holes in there, get the thread out, get it onto the needle, and make a start. So just putting it through there. Went through quite quickly. Just making sure that when you are using stitching that you go back over the stitch, like I sort of do off camera, which is a bit silly, but just covering that up. So now I've finished all that stitching, and I'm going to go ahead and stick down the Swing Bridges title. So I'm using the liquid glass here to do that, and it works really well with these wood grain alpha, but I probably could use a variety of other things too. I was just thinking my Xyron sticker maker, probably need to get some refills before they stop making those or something sometime soon, because they would poke through there quite nicely as well, and would have simplified that process perhaps quite a bit. So just getting each of them stuck down. Don't need a heap of the glue because it's a really good adhesive, and getting that done. So making sure I put the lid on again. The lid that I've got's got a nice wee needle thing that goes in through it, so it's really good for using repeatedly, but making sure I have to put that back in, otherwise it's not going to be quite right. So I have pulled one of the stickers from the Flower Shop sticker sheet, and I'm going to add my journaling on there, and I just trimmed off the bottom and I've turned it upside down as well, rather than using it the way it was, just so that I've got that space to do the journaling, but it's just a little bit more of an interest point than just writing straight onto the page. So I'm just writing about the swing bridges on the track. I actually quite like swing bridges, but my daughter doesn't, and my mother also doesn't, so I wonder if my daughter got it from her. So I'm just choosing a few of the florals from the Flower Shop sticker sheet. I've sort of pulled out some of the yellow flowers on here mostly, just seems to go nicely with the greens, and finding a few places to tuck them in. So this is part of Scraptember, which I mentioned before, and it's got some prompts. You can find the Facebook group to get the other prompts if you're interested in joining in. I hope you have enjoyed watching this and that you'll subscribe, and also check out the playlist below if you're keen to see more of the Scraptember layouts that are being created. Thanks for watching.